Lane Kiffin failed at rating the Ole Miss roster, plain and simple.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network in the United States. That's all because of fans like you. Thank you for tuning in each and every single morning to this show. On today's show, we're going to talk about the Ole Miss men's hoops team knocking off the Mississippi State Bulldogs to win their third straight SEC game and their second straight road conference victory of the season. Honestly, they deserve a sellout against Auburn on Tuesday night. Gates open 2 hours before tip-off. They probably need to see you in the stands. Next, we're going to break down a pair of major transfer portal commitments and wide receiver Johntay Cook and tight end Michael Smith as Ole Miss continues to build what is currently the nation's number 2 transfer portal class. But first, we're going to look back at all the noise and bluster that we heard from last week and how, despite plenty of outside chatter, Lane Kiffin and LSU ultimately fell short on their attempt to pry away elite talent from the national semifinalist Ole Miss. All of this and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available in all the podcast apps and on YouTube. And a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every single game day. So every Ole Miss fan is aware of what has been happening and what they've been having to deal with for a very long time, if we're going to be real about it. And that is the LSU first responders and burners and all of that coming into your Twitter feed telling you that, hey, we're going to take Trinidad Chambliss. We're going to take Kewan Lacey. Everything that you like is ours. There's no way that they would stay at Ole Miss. Of course, they would follow the genius Lane Kiffin across the state line into Louisiana. All the Ole Miss fans heard this and have heard this for about a month and a half at this point. So whenever we got news of the shenanigans that were happening the Thursday before the end of the transfer portal weekend, we obviously perked up. Whenever a source close to the program was talking about it being hand-to-hand combat with LSU, and they're trying to destroy our locker room and all of this, and that LSU is behind the rumored leaked product that happened a couple of days prior, of course, everybody's like, okay, this is happening. Lane Kiffin was Ole Miss's coach for 6 years. You know what you have with Lane. And anybody that doesn't know what they had with Lane, that's on them at this point. So Ole Miss was prepared for all of the shenanigans that Lane Kiffin was going to pull. They knew exactly what they were dealing with. And they put up guardrails to prevent it from happening. Now, Ole Miss lost some players in the transfer portal to LSU. That was going to happen. But it wasn't a Matt Campbell situation where 35 players went over there. When the head coach of a team takes another job, usually most of that team follows that coach. That's the way it works. And with Ole Miss having a national semifinal level team, there was obviously some concern. So I'm going to take an opportunity to list out the names that have left for LSU currently. You have TJ Dottery, who played 15 games, had 95 tackles, and he was a lukewarm participant at linebacker. Good player, but let's not act like LSU signed Patrick Willis whenever they got TJ Dottery. Devin Harper, offensive lineman that has never started a football game. Plenty of potential, not really that dude at this point. Good player from the state of Louisiana. You got a guy to come home. Okay, well done. And Winston Watkins, who famously before the Mississippi State game said that Lane Kiffin was the only coach that he would ever play for. This was the most easily known transfer player that could have went to LSU from Ole Miss. And that's it. No Keywan Lacey, no Trinidad Chambliss, no Lucas Canero. None of the players that stood out for Ole Miss. None of the players that would be deemed significant losses by Ole Miss. None of those guys went to LSU. Now, I say that with the caveat that there is one player that is about 50-50 right now per Chuck Rounsaville of the Ole Miss Spirit of going to LSU or staying at Ole Miss, and that's Prince Will Amamiela. Now, the problem there is if there was no contract signed, he probably would have gotten the portal and went to LSU. But he signed a contract on January 6th or something like that. And now they're playing the buyout game and doing all of the stuff where you have signed documentation that is going to likely require a buyout from LSU to get him out of that contract. That is going on. But as of right now, Prince Will's not a slam dunk to go down there. Not even close. As Chuck said, it was a 50-50 proposition at this point. Caden Lee entered the portal, and everybody's like, well, what about Caden Lee? Well, Caden Lee, if Trinidad Chambliss gets his waiver, Caden Lee's coming back to Ole Miss. That is the news from all around the sphere of Ole Miss right now. Caden put out a goodbye letter in case that doesn't happen because you only get to say goodbye one time. And this is a situation for him to where if Deuce Knight is the guy next year for Ole Miss, Caden Lee's going to go make his bag probably at Missouri, because that's where his boy Austin Simmons ended up as well. Congratulations to Austin Simmons, by the way. I don't know if I said this on the podcast. The guy needed a fresh start. He was the consummate teammate, all of that. Good for Austin for whatever he's doing. Get that bag, be great, man. All right, so when you look at those three names right now, that is no way constituting a steal or a raid or anything like that, and nothing compared to what was threatened to Ole Miss for essentially a month and a half as people attacked their fan base with, hey, you're going to lose Keywan Lacey or you're going to lose all of these big-time players, and essentially nobody has left at this point that is not replaceable at this point in the transfer portal. Now, everybody's like, well, Steve, what about TJ Dottery? Well, the rumor is Luke Farrelly, the ACC Freshman of the Year, is in the transfer portal. He is going to come over when the portal opens up or anything like that. Clemson already thinks he's gone, essentially, so I expect him to be the linebacker that lines up beside Keaton Thomas over the course of next year. At wide receiver, almost got Johntay Cook. We're going to talk about him in the next segment. He was a 5-star at the Under Armour game. I will tell you my experiences with Johntay and what's going on there. And when you look at the end position, Ole Miss has signed a bunch of ends, including Blake Purchase, a defensive end out of Oregon. Ole Miss is going to be fine with replacing pieces. The people that are leaving, the people that are gone are not irreplaceable. And that is pretty cool because you have a situation similar to what Ole Miss has gone through the last couple of years, to where they improve their talent level after each and every transfer portal cycle. That is happening. And right now, Ole Miss is killing it. Pete Golding is absolutely killing it. Ole Miss is currently second on 247 in transfer portal class and fourth in average transfer portal player rating. Number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5 are in the top 5. Number 1 is way down the list at like 15. So we are in a position that Pete is dominating the transfer portal. They have an idea of exactly what they want to do. They still have a couple of holes. We talked with David Johnson last night and all about that, but they're still committing players. You got Carius Kern, the big offensive tackle that's going to come in. He's basically a man-for-man replacement for Devin Harper. And they're going to continue to bring in offensive line help in the transfer portal. The Grove Collective and Pete Golding and this staff has done an absolutely amazing job, and they should be commended for what has happened, because Instead of Ole Miss being left out to dry after a raid from Lane Kiffin, not only did that not happen, Ole Miss prepared for a situation to where it would, and they have improved the talent on the roster. And that is not an easy thing to look at for what could go on. Just simple as that. Ole Miss expected and planned for more to happen than actually did. This whole steal, this whole raid that was coming from Baton Rouge, it turned out to be a whole lot of overselling, like really overselling and under delivering. So we'll see exactly how that goes. Ole Miss just added a couple more stars to their roster. We'll introduce you to both of them right after this. The college football playoff championship game is here tonight, and FanDuel has given all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game of the playoffs and the national title game tonight. Because right now, every college football game day, FanDuel's users get a profit boost that's waiting for them in the app. Here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets that you already feel great about. Ride with the favorite when you think that team controls the matchup. Take a shot on the underdog if you feel an upset's coming, or build a parlay around the players and moments that you think decide the game. Then simply apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. And when you win, FanDuel is going to pay out interest instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every single game day. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcast you're listening to and give a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but it keeps all of this free. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast in a network in America. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Ole Miss with no interruptions, members only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 per month or $50 per year. Go to lockedonolemist.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Corey Burton is doing a fantastic job with our Coach Corey segment of players coming in. You can catch that on the Everydayer Club All Access package if that is your speed. Now, Ole Miss got 2 or 3 commitments over the weekend, and it's going to keep continuing as Ole Miss continues to build. But there are a couple of guys that you need to pay attention to. First of all is Johntay Cook. He's a wide receiver out of Syracuse. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds. He is a guy that is an enigma. He honestly is. He was recruited by Texas, signed with Texas out of DeSoto High School. He's somebody that was unbelievably good. Before he went to Texas, he came to the Under Armour All-American game. And he had one of those weeks of practice that I saw that was reminiscent to me of what Zachariah Branch did when he went through. This is an elite slot receiver. And if it all comes together, it's somebody that can instantly make your team better. Okay, that's the good news. The bad news is this is his 4th college. He was immature and didn't see the field very much at Texas. Transferred to Washington, got in trouble at Washington and got kicked off the team. So he went to Syracuse. The light appeared to come on for him at Syracuse. He had 50-something receptions and about 600 yards of offense in a quarterback-challenged offense. When Steve Angeli went down, they had to fight for the quarterback position for the rest of the year, and it was a disaster. We have a video talking about Daryl Giles. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Brain freeze a little bit. He talked about the quarterback situation that Syracuse was having to go through, and it's just one of those things that you have to see. Honestly, Daryl Gill is his name. Sorry about that. I wanted to call him Gillis because last night somebody called it Gillis, and that kind of messed with me. So when you look at the Syracuse pass catcher, there's a theme for Ole Miss. Get receivers out of places that struggled with quarterback play the year before. That happened very well with Trey Wallace and Deshaun Stribling. Ole Miss is counting on the fact that it would pay dividends going after the Syracuse two, Daryl Gill Jr. and Johntay Cook. If you go after those guys, you have a chance to increase productivity, and you probably get a little bit of a discount as well. Now, another person that I'm excited about, Ole Miss got a commitment from Michael Smith, who was committed to Syracuse, but he's a South Carolina transfer. He's a tight end. He's 6'5", 255 pounds. And when you watch him play, when they play the game, he looks an awfully lot like the tight end that Ole Miss currently has. So whenever you go over to this, you can see that it would be, I don't know, interesting to see how it works out. Whenever you have a big guy that is that productive, you want to try and replicate that as much as you can. So Michael Smith, the South Carolina transfer, would absolutely fit that bill. Whenever you look at the Ole Miss tight end situation over the last couple of years, that has been pretty relevant. Michael Smith can fill that role. And finally, this happened on yesterday. Ole Miss got a commitment from a running back named Joshua Dye out of Southern Utah. That's an FCS school. He is 5'11", 200 pounds. He's somebody that can run a little bit. He's a good player, has excellent contact balance, ran for about 1,800 yards for the Southern Utah FCS team. I think they are maybe the Firebirds. Maybe that's their name. I'm not very good with FCS nicknames, but he's a really good player. He visited, he committed, and he fits into a backfield that is going to be starting with Kewan Lacey. I expect JT Lindsey to have a role in the backfield for Ole Miss. And then you have Shakai Mills-Knight. Then you have Demarius Yates. Then you have those guys kind of following suit. This is the deepest running back room that I can remember Ole Miss football having. In my lifetime, this is by far the deepest group. And that doesn't even count Joshua Dye. He is somebody that has been productive enough at the FCS level that he's going to be a problem. Again, 1,800 yards rushing last year for Dye at Southern Utah. And when you look at where he is and where it sits, he is going to push JT Lindsey. He is going to push Shakai Mills-Knight and those guys that want to get on the field. And it's going to be an all-out war for the number 2 through the number 6 position players in the transfer portal room. Frank Wilson, honestly, has his work a little bit cut out for him at Ole Miss. Ole Miss in the transfer portal right now, absolute darlings. Number 2 in the 24/7 rankings and have one of the higher transfer portal ratings by position. So when you look at what they lost, what they brought in, it was probably a net plus. So we'll see exactly what that looks like. Now, when we come back in our final segment, this Ole Miss team is coming off back-to-back road wins, and it feels like this team is starting to turn the corner, fighting every single day. They deserve a sellout Tuesday night, honestly, against Auburn. They need to have butts in the seats against the Auburn Tigers, and we will talk about that next. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on about your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local expert in person to connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms, and they work to get you every single deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives you real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150, all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off of your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com today/local to book your appointment today. It's a really interesting thing. I cut on the ball game last night. Ole Miss defeated Georgia on Wednesday night on a buzzer beater by Patton Pinkins, and that was awesome. And that was after they beat Missouri the Saturday before. So Ole Miss had won 2 straight, but Ole Miss was playing at Mississippi State. And we have all seen that movie. We know how it usually ends. And Mississippi State jumping out in the first half into an 11-point lead made you think, well, here we go again. But Ole Miss just started chipping away. And this might have been Ilias Kamardine's best game as an Ole Miss Rebel. He was absolutely nails. His mid-range game was excellent. Neither team was shooting well from three-point range. Honestly, at times, it kind of looked like that fair attraction where the rim is just slightly bigger than the basketball, and to where there was just no chance of it going in. But Mississippi State started to make some threes late, and they started to make a run late, but this Ole Miss team kept fighting. And after A.J. Storr was a monster against Georgia, at the end of the game, he did some very good one-on-one level stuff. Patton Pinkins hit the buzzer beater against Georgia, came back and hit the go-ahead winning shot against Mississippi State on the road as well. And it just feels like a corner is being turned for this basketball team. They're now 3-2 in the Southeastern Conference with road wins at Georgia, who's a pretty good team. They beat Arkansas over the weekend, and at Mississippi State, which is always a difficult place for Ole Miss to play, and it always will be. Humphrey Coliseum is very difficult for Ole Miss. But Ole Miss has just kind of been there. Missouri, who I think they're the top team in the SEC, or one of them at 4-1 or something like that. Ole Miss at 3-2, in position to make a run towards the top of the conference. Yes, we all know that December was kind of a disastrous month for Ole Miss basketball. We all get that. We all understand that. But Ole Miss has turned it around in January to where they're a pretty good team. And this team is starting to look like the opposite of the 2023 team, I think, that started out undefeated, won their first couple of conference games, but then after that, they kind of got taken apart. This basketball team has struggled through the non-conference, made it into SEC play, and they're kind of starting to figure it out and get right. This, at this point, looks like a team that can do some damage in the Southeastern Conference. And if you would have told me that on December 15th, I would have told you were crazy. But this basketball team is very good at what they do. And I'm not 100% sure why. I maybe the fact that so many dominant players are European-based, that it just took a little bit of time for them to get used to the physicality of the North American game. Maybe that's it. Maybe they just took a minute or two, took a beat or two to gel. I'm not 100% sure, but whatever's happening, this team looks a lot more in rhythm. This team looks a lot more like the Chris Beard type basketball teams that we have seen. And this might be Chris Beard's best coaching job that he has done in coaching, because he took a team that was 8-7 and had no hope in the world, and all of a sudden they're 11-7 and 3-2 in the SEC. Kudos for Chris Beard for that. And now you have winnable games coming up. You've got the game against the Auburn Tigers, which they're same record, but they're coming into your building. And absolutely, students, if you're watching this, Ole Miss deserves an extreme environment for the Auburn Tigers. They have done enough to where they warranted that. They opened the gates up for the pavilion 2 hours early. Get there, be loud, be proud, all of that stuff. You know that Auburn's going to travel well, but Ole Miss deserves a sellout in this game. And Ole Miss can win this game, because this Auburn team is not last year's Auburn team. This Auburn team, while with some talented players, they're not somebody that is going to just scare you. And Ole Miss can absolutely get this game. And honestly, they deserve payback for the last 3 games last season. If Ole Miss can get the win against the Auburn Tigers on Tuesday night, they'll be 4-2 in the SEC with a road game potentially to Rupp Arena on the horizon. They still have Vanderbilt coming up too. There's a lot of opportunity for quad 1, quad 2 wins for Ole Miss. So be excited for what you're seeing from this Ole Miss basketball team. They were really good against the Georgia Bulldogs in a game that they ultimately won because of Patton Pinkins' putback as time expired. They won at Mississippi State because Patton Pinkins is just simply one of the best freshmen in college football right now, or college basketball, sorry. Still on the mind, right? This Ole Miss basketball team, they have figured out rotations. They figured out what they need to do to move forward. Now, if you can get a couple more wins and get rolling, you're going to go into this Auburn game with some of the most confidence that you have had as a basketball team this season. That is worth noting. And this basketball team, as they said on the broadcast against Mississippi State, will go as Ilias Kamardine goes. And Ilias played his best game in college basketball against Mississippi State. Didn't turn the ball over, had some assists, excellent mid-range game, and did a really good job of getting people involved. Ilias Kamardine is going to be the metronome for Ole Miss. So we'll see exactly how that goes. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We're going to continue to talk transfer portal all week. We're going to talk basketball some. And so make sure you subscribe and follow the show and get all of the latest episodes. We're on all the social channels as well, so check out that. You never miss an episode with the Everydayer Club. It is built for you, so get Locked On Ole Miss ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonolemiss.com.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on YouTube, we're going to send you over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And for audio, make sure you find a second listen on the network, either Locked On College Football or Locked On SEC would be pretty good. Hotty toddy, everybody. We made it through the transfer portal deadline day. Now it's going to be all about acquisitions. And as we all have seen the last couple of years, Ole Miss is really pretty good at acquisitions. Anyway, hotty toddy, everybody.